The weeks after Mama Amobi left were heavy. Adamma spent mornings at the market helping her mother set up their store, her hands moving almost automatically as she stacked tomatoes, peppers, and okra. But her heart was elsewhere, returning again and again to Amobi, the promises, the betrayal, the envelope his mother had brought with such arrogance. At first, she barely spoke to customers. Her usual warmth had dimmed, her smiles buried beneath silence. Mama Adamma noticed quickly. She stayed close, sometimes sitting beside her daughter without a word, sometimes offering gentle reminders, eat something, order. You need strength. Don't let their whispers decide your heart. But nights were the hardest. Adamma would sit by the veranda under the orange tree where she and Amobi had once shared laughter and whispered dreams. She pressed her palms against its rough bark, letting the wind carry away her grief. Then the news came. Amobi was married. To Chinelo. They had moved to Abuja, some said. The wedding was loud, grand, expensive. But Adamma didn't ask. She didn't need to know. Instead, she returned to her store. Her hands stayed busy. Her heart stayed quiet. She saved. Not much. But enough to make a difference. She rented a shop. Bought branded paper bags with Adamma's Fresh Market stamped proudly on them. She started home deliveries, bankers, lecturers, the rich who wanted the taste of the village without the stress of the market. Her business grew. Orders poured in. Her phone buzzed with calls she once thought she would never receive. One hot afternoon, a new customer placed an order. The address was an estate building, with tall balconies, flowers trimmed into perfect obedience. A security guard handed her a gate pass. She entered with her usual calm, clothes simple but clean. At the front door, it opened. A man stood there. Not the cleaner. Not the house girl. A man. Young, dressed simply but with quiet elegance. His sleeves rolled, his eyes sharp yet kind. They met hers, and stayed. You must be Adamma, he asked. Yes, sir. Your order. She held out the bag. He took it, still staring. You do deliveries yourself? She nodded. For now. That's rare, he said, almost to himself. It keeps me close to my customers. He chuckled softly. And do all your customers look forward to your visits as much as I think I will? She blinked. Excuse me. He lifted a hand quickly, embarrassed. I'm sorry, that came out wrong. I just didn't expect the woman behind the business to be so. So what? She asked, curious. So brilliant. And beautiful. Adamma shook her head, laughing under her breath. You're a smooth talker. Only when I mean it, he said with a grin. I'm Nonso. I just returned last month. Please don't be a stranger. Adamma nodded politely and turned to leave. But her steps felt lighter than they had in months. The next week, Nonso ordered again. And the week after that. He asked for things he clearly didn't need. Do you have ayayo? Fresh ugu. Dry okra. Each time waiting by the door, each time smiling like he'd been waiting all day. One day, he finally said it, I know I've been pretending to be interested in uzaza seeds just to see you. But the truth is, I'd like to take you out. Not as your customer. As Nonso. The man who hasn't stopped thinking about you since that first day. Adamma said nothing at first. Then she smiled, a real one this time. I'll think about it, she replied, but she didn't say yes. Not at first. She was polite. Smiled when Nonso came around. Took his payments. Delivered his orders. But whenever he tried to get too close, she'd retreat, not with anger, but with silence. One day, he brought her a small basket of garden fresh fruits. I saw them and thought of you, he said. She raised an eyebrow. So now I remind you of fruits. He laughed. Only the ripe, sweet ones. Another time, he came to her store with a new apron. Red and white. Embroidered with her name, Adamma's Fresh Market, since 2020. I thought it looked more professional, he said, like a nervous schoolboy. She didn't wear it. Not that day. Then one Saturday, he came to her house. Not for business. Not for foodstuffs. Just with a bag of provisions, and a bouquet of flowers. I just wanted to greet your mother, he said. Adamma nearly dropped her basin. But her mother beamed from ear to ear. Oh. Nonso. Come in, come in. You're the one my daughter keeps talking about, Obi. Mama. Adamma scolded, embarrassed. But it was too late. Nonso was already sitting down and her mother had launched into stories, how Adamma used to carry firewood bigger than her body, how she learned to count by selling tomatoes. From that day, he started coming more often. Sometimes to drop gifts. Sometimes to greet Mama. Sometimes just to sit outside the shop and watch the woman he couldn't stop admiring. But Adamma still held back. One evening, as the sky turned pink, she finally told him, I've loved before, Nonso. I loved with my whole heart. And when it ended, something in me broke. I don't know if I have it in me to try again. Nonso didn't rush to speak. He just nodded, softly. I'm not asking you to love me today, he said. I'm asking for a chance to earn tomorrow. By the end of that year, Adamma and Nonso had built something rare, a friendship that felt safe. They laughed together. Argued about market prices. Talked about the news. Nonso would stop by her store with snacks or fruits, and they'd sit on small stools, watching the market go quiet as evening settled. One afternoon, under the shade of her faded umbrella, he asked her a question he'd been holding in his chest. Adamma, why do you still sell at the market every day? You're smart. Ever thought of doing something else? Adamma didn't look him in the face. Because I didn't finish school, she said simply. Nonso watched her closely. But it's not too late. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. School is for girls with smooth hands and unbroken hearts. I'm not that girl anymore. He didn't argue. Not that day. But he didn't let it go either. Little by little, he dropped hints. A flyer for part-time classes. A conversation about women starting over. A story about someone who returned to school after children and 2 jobs. He never pressured. Just planted seeds. Then one evening, while sitting outside her house with Mama Adamma dozing on a mat behind them, he said gently, I want to see you become everything you put aside. I'll help. However I can. Adamma looked at him, tears silently rising. Why do you care so much? Because, he said, you deserve more than what life handed you, and because I... He stopped. Smiled. I believe in you. A month later, Adamma enrolled in part-time evening classes at the local university. She still sold in the market during the day, but 3 times a week, she dressed up, packed her notebooks, and walked into a small classroom with big dreams. Nonso never bragged. Never reminded her it was his idea. But every exam week, he brought her snacks and flowers. And every result day, he clapped the loudest, even if he was the only one clapping. 3 years flew by like harmattan wind. Adamma's hands no longer smelled of stockfish and onions every day. They smelled of paper, ink, and sometimes, hope. She was no longer the girl at the market stall who kept her eyes low when people talked about dreams. Now, she joined those conversations, boldly. She still sold at the market, but now she had help and regular customers. And the quiet confidence of a woman who fought to become herself. The day she graduated, the sun felt like it rose just for her. She wore a dress her mother had carefully ironed. Her name was called, and as she walked to collect her certificate, her legs shook, but her smile was steady. She had waited. She had worked. And she had won. Later that evening, Nonso told her they were going to celebrate small with a few friends. But when Adamma walked into the place, her breath caught in her chest. Strings of fairy lights glowed across the yard. Plastic chairs were filled with familiar faces, her mother, friends from the market, classmates, and neighbors who had watched her journey quietly. A small cake stood in the corner with the words, "To Adamma, with all my love." Adamma turned to him, speechless. "You planned all this?" He just smiled. "I told you, I believe in you." Then it happened. Right there in the middle of claps and music and blinking lights, Nonso dropped to one knee. Mama Adamma gasped, then covered her mouth with both hands. Nonso reached into his pocket, pulled out a small velvet box, and opened it. "Adamma," he said, voice soft but firm, "I fell in love with your strength. Then I fell for your kindness. Your laughter. Your stubbornness. And your eyes, too." Laughter burst from the crowd. "But mostly," he continued, "I fell in love with the woman you are. Will you marry me?" Tears rolled down Adamma's cheeks. Her knees buckled slightly as she nodded. "Yes, Nonso. Yes." 2 years later, Amobi returned to Isioku, broken, humiliated, and wretched. Prison had eaten away at him, every day a reminder of his mistakes. Few years after his marriage to Chinelo, she had fallen out of love with him, and started cheating with someone else. When he confronted her, the argument escalated, ending with a slap he would forever regret. Her influential family used their power to strip him of his house, cars, money, even made sure his engineering certificate was useless, and landed him in prison. Now, he returned to Isioku, ragged, hollow-eyed, dragging his mother behind him. They traveled to Lagos, to see Adamma, the one who had never abandoned them before. At Adamma's fresh market headquarters, workers bustled around her, packing orders and taking calls. She moved with quiet authority, calm, confident, her life full and ordered. Amobi stepped forward. His voice shook. "Adamma. I was wrong. I left, I hate you, Mama," Amobi added, timid and ashamed, "please, we came to ask for your forgiveness." Adamma raised a hand. Her voice was cold, controlled. "Who let these people in here?" The security guard stammered. "Madam, they just..." "No," Adamma cut him off. "Take them out. Now." Amobi opened his mouth, desperate. "Order, please." She cut him off. "No. You once taught me that love could be traded. Now I will teach you, dignity cannot be begged." Mama Amobi's eyes filled with tears. "But order, we..." "Enough," Adamma said. "I don't want apologies. I don't want excuses. Leave." The guards gently but firmly escorted them out. Amobi looked back, defeated, shame written across his face. His mother hung her head, silent, humiliated. Adamma returned to her work, her hands steady, her gaze focused. She didn't flinch. She didn't look back. The past was gone, buried beneath the life she had built with her husband, her mother. Outside, the sun shone. Inside, Adamma's world was hers, prosperous, full, and unshaken.